the one and only Leo Biaz. Hey, Leo.
I'm excited to be back, my man. It was 9 days in Vegas. We got stuck in the desert, and we had a little hangover remix out there, man.
I wore a wig to school once, and they said no headgear was allowed.
How did the
spider web
was it
tights.
Obvious that it was a wig?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I was
It was a
having
terrible
fun.
wig.
See, this is exactly why we have them on the show, and this is what makes them fun.
You're listening to KXVS, the voice of Stockton, 92.1 FM.
Do you want to relive the golden days of Stockton? Join Nate Knott on Stockton Alive every first and third Monday at 6 p.m. Tune into thevoiceofstockton.org.
This is Darius Oliver, and you're listening to 92.1 KXVS, the voice of Stockton.
The views and opinions expressed in the following program do not necessarily reflect those of KXVS, the voice of Stockton, or its parents, affiliates, management, and staff. The voice of Stockton on KXVS presents the Lance McCann Show with your host, Lance McCann.
What's up, everybody? Good morning. How are you doing today? My guest today is Matt Hortzman, a world traveler, and today we're going to be talking about his trip around the world to Cambodia, Egypt, Israel, Cyprus, Morocco, and hanging out in a Buddhist.
Hang out with some Buddhist monks, yeah.
Put your headphones on so you
there
can
we
hear
go.
better.
Now I'm in.
Now you're in. You're dialed
Good
in.
morning, Lance.
Good morning, sir.
Hi,
How you
brother.
doing?
Good, man.
So let's start this off. We were talking the other day, and you said, I sold my house, and I decided I was going to take a trip. What, like,
Okay, so
what's that?
Okay,
Like,
so
let's unwrap that. Like, who thinks, like, I'm going to sell my house and just like, take a trip?
So let's back up a little bit. I had spent the past 7 or 8 years working with senior citizens, working in the assisted living industry, and
that's how we met.
That's how we met. Exactly. Yes. Yeah. And one thing is you really begin to develop relationships with people that are in their 70s, 80s, 90s, centurions, right?
Wow.
Is they're looking back on their life and they're reflecting on things that
they would have, should have.
Well, yeah, that they did, but more importantly, a lot of times what they didn't do.
Okay.
And one thing that kept coming up through discussions and whatnot was how most people had never traveled like they wanted to. Because what do? We're
go to routine.
Absolutely, man.
We're in a wheel.
We go to college, we get our job, we stay in that career for 20, 30, 40 years, even if we hate it, right?
Right.
And
hating it's even worse.
and then we amass this like nest egg, and then we're going to go travel when we retire. Well, when I'm 65, 70, I'm not guaranteed I'm going to have the energy to do it. I'm not guaranteed that I'm going to want to even go do what I wanted to do, right? So I started to look at where I was in my life, and I said, okay, at this point I was 41, not married, didn't have some of these social kind of constraints that would have kept me from doing something like that. I mean, if I had been married, going to my wife and saying, hey, listen,
hey,
here's
babe.
my grandiose plan is I'm going to leave and I'm just going to grab a backpack.
By the way, we're selling the house.
Yeah, exactly. We're just going to
move
go
in
do
Mom.
this. Exactly. Yeah. You guys can figure it out while I go.
Hey, Joe Mart, I better see you tonight.
So I ended up, I just, about a year before I did it, and I had no clue, man. I had no clue. I'm not a weekend warrior, like a adrenaline junkie guy. I'm not one of those people, right? But I started to feel like, okay, where I'm at in my life, let's say that in 5 years my life changes and I can't go do it. Why not go do it now? The work that I'm in, working with seniors, it's one of the largest growing industries in the country just because we're living longer. I knew that if I wanted to come back and resume that career, I could, but I felt like this was the time for me to go do that. So
Pull the eject button. Boom.
Completely, man. Shoot out. We're done. we're done.
I remember when we met, you're like, hey, I'm going to be taking off in a few months. I'm like, where are you going? You're like, I'm going to travel. I'm like, you're a little crazy, but I like you.
Well, that was the funny thing, was that like we met like you do. Well, I mean, look at what you're doing here. You're talking to people in Stockton, business owners, and you're bringing a lot of attention to people that are doing great things in the community.
Right.
But that stems from you being the person that you are. Well,
thank you for the compliment.
My pleasure, man. So that's one of the reasons why we jived all the time, was that you're somebody that's very positive. You exude just, you're a glass half full guy, right? And so, yeah, I think we met first of the year. I think it was a couple months before I was getting ready to head out.
Yep.
And
you're like,
you looked at me like a lot of people did, like, dude, really? You
during
sure
the
about
headlights,
that?
I was like,
yeah.
But yeah, you're like, man. And the reason why I have you on here, because you said, I'm gonna do this. I don't know how I'm gonna do it, but I'm gonna commit and I'm gonna go travel. So a lot of people have that same dream, hopes, whatever. So I wanted to share your story with my people and some of your people who may not exactly know your story.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so you're like, I'm doing it. And we had lunch, and I was prepping for my show. And you're like, you're just having a salad, and
you look like you eat like a brontosaurus burger, dude, like on the Flintstones, man.
I do. Now.
One of those big old rib things that tips over.
But you're like, hey, bro, I got like 3 weeks left. And I'm pulling the plug, and I'm leaving. And I'm like, dude, awesome. Yeah, that is great. You have brontosaurus burgers. We'll keep it PG because it's a kid's show.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
So, yeah, I want you to share your story, because I followed you along through your trips, and your first place you landed
was Thailand. Yeah. Yeah, so let me, I'll back that up a little bit.
I would ask you, like, what's your favorite thing, your favorite place, but I'm sure there's no one place that was favorite. There's just certain elements, maybe a dish or somebody you met there.
I think I think part of it is, for me, is there's a wanderlust that happens, if you will. And I kept seeing this on my travels, that this one saying that when you travel, you become a storyteller. Okay, and it's so true, because I can't, as much as I get excited and like, oh my gosh, this was so amazing, to physically be there and to see these things kind of take place, and you have to understand, this trip was nothing like your normal trip.
You didn't plan anything,
dude. The only thing I planned was I was leaving the 10th of April from San Francisco, and I was going to Phuket, Thailand, and I was going to get there just in time for the Songkran Festival, and the Songkran Festival is the Thai water festival. And man, the only way I can even describe this, it's the second weekend in April. So anybody that's looking to go to Thailand, you've got to bucket list this. It's the best way I can describe it, it's the world's largest like outdoor water gun fight, man. It's a super soaker fight for 3 days. Wow. In every single place in Thailand, Chiang Mai, Bangkok, Phuket, Chiang Rai. It didn't matter where you were. This is what happens. And so, for 3 days, it's a huge party. Like there were probably this is a ballpark, 75,000 people on the streets of Phuket for that 3 days, and there were, you're getting in water fights from people the ages of 8 to 88. Wow. Like I got in. This was really cool. So this is nuts, man. The first day that I was there, it was kind of wrapping up. It was 5 or 5:30, whatever it was, and I'm spent, dude. I'm water gunned out, and I'm walking, and
you're waterlogged.
I completely, my shoes are just sloppy, whatever, and I start getting pelted from my 2 o'clock position, right? Let's just say. And I look over, and it's like this 90-year-old Japanese dude. Okay, and he says, da, 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 da. And I'm looking, and I had this discussion with myself. I'm like, man, am I really going to shoot this guy? Am I really going to just unload on this 90-year-old man?
Take him out, sweep the leg, Cobra Kai, right? Just take him out, man.
And I'm telling you, it was one of those moments where I'm like, yeah, I'm going to do this, man. And so I start doing this, and from my left, I'm gonna assume it was his wife, man. I don't know. It was the same age, basically Japanese lady. Just I was getting
tag teaming you,
like tag teamed by these two Japanese people. This water gun fight, and I kept like, and you can't help but laugh like a kid who's getting tickled in the belly, like you know, like the like the Pillsbury Doughboy. You know what I mean?
You like hear these old people just hammer me.
Yeah, and but the funny thing was I kept thinking to myself, this would never work back home. This would never work back home. And I met a bunch of I kind of hung out at one of the Aussie bars in the area, and I met a lot of them that do this yearly because it's not too far from Australia, especially compared to here. And they said they think the same thing every time they come. You know, people just there's no fights, there's no nothing, and like they say back there's no way that would work back in Australia. And it's the same thing. There's just a different vibe when you go different places in the world. You meet some amazing people, man.
So we'll touch on this.
Really cool.
So, depending on what media outlet you listen to, Americans are hated across the globe. What was your feeling?
Okay. So
we got to touch on it. People,
absolutely. No, because that's one thing that I got on my travels, and then when I've also came back was that on both sides of that, where are you? So when I was traveling, everybody asked me what I thought of Trump. That's what everybody wanted to know. That was the first thing when they realized you were American is, okay, you know, not even did you vote for him? It was, what do you think? And depending on where you were in the world, some people were kind of pro, a lot were kind of this, and then you had other people that were in the middle. Yeah.
I would imagine most people were like, eh.
Yeah, because, you know, it's also perspective. So, you know, most places you go, where do people in other parts of the world want to go? They want to come to America.
Right.
They want to come to the United States. They want to be a part to live the dream, the American dream. And so it's always interesting because Hollywood has always fed us what the picture is of something, right? So like when I first started traveling, and let's say I was going back for like youth conventions in church, we went to Atlanta and Dallas and some places where you end up meeting some people from different parts of the country. And so from a domestic standpoint, everybody, when they found out you were from California, this was always hilarious. They always thought everybody lived on the beach. Like you live right next door to Arnold Schwarzenegger and every other musician and actor and actress and whatnot, and you go surfing before school every day, and you just chill and you drink smoothies and acai bowls all day, right? Yeah, it's all perspective. So it's the same thing. Is you know, people have a very I know a lot of us living our lives the way we do. If you were to meet somebody from Cambodia or from Sudan or from Lithuania or wherever, they would have a completely different view of America than we do because we live here. So people the thing I kept getting was that a lot of the people that had met other Americans on their travels, that's always an interesting thing, is to find out what your other peers have left as far as like an impression.
Okay.
And so people that work in a hospitality industry, in the hotels and restaurants and bars and stuff like this, they would they definitely have a different view because, well, we're on vacation. Right? We got the money, we're doing this, you're here to provide a service,
bunch of jackasses.
You said it, not me. Exactly, yes.
Well, I could see, like, you know, they come to, you know, a developing country and they're like, you know, and it's probably not all Americans, it could be other places from around the world. It's like you're in a rush, not thinking about the other person, like, hey, this person, this is their job, this is how they make their living. You know, sometimes they probably don't get treated with the dignity and respect that they're supposed to be treated with.
Absolutely, yeah.
So it leaves a bad taste in their mouth. But when you go outside the hospitality and you meet people who've already met Americans, probably different than the hospitality, I would imagine.
Yeah, if you're meeting somebody as a traveler, compared to somebody that is working with the different, you know, and it's very easy to typecast people into like a little bowl. Because we do that anyways, man. You know, I mean,
survival instinct.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of like, well, growing up in Lodi, you know, you had the two high schools. You had Tokay and Lodi. I mean, if you were on the other side of the tracks, if you were on Tokay, it's like, you know, just kidding. But
hey, but Lodi is the only town I know that, like, literally, it's different on the other side.
Yeah, completely. Yeah, it's that old saying, on the other side of the tracks, right? So
that's where it came from. I think it came from Lodi.
It might have come from Lodi.
So, or with Kevin Bacon, I don't know. Bringing it back there.
I'm telling you, man. Yeah. So it was, The thing that I really always enjoyed was that I felt like I was a representative. I was somebody that, I may be
trying to change that perspective.
I may be the only American that this person meets because I might be in a part of the world where not a lot of people, not a lot of people make it there.
Right.
Because if you think about it, when we look to go on vacation, right?
You go to the touristy.
Dude, I'm going to Europe. I'm going to, beach places. I'm going to the Caribbean. I'm going to Mexico. I'm going to Hawaii.
So where
whatever it
most
is.
people go this way, you went this way.
I didn't even know which way I was going. Dude, brother, I had no roadmap. That's the crazy thing. And I say this trip would have absolutely it would have irritated so many people the way that I did this because we want structure.
Yeah.
Man. I mean, there were times, I had a really funny story. So I was in Petra in Jordan, okay? And I was at the bus stop and I was with a guy from Sydney, my friend Brendan, really cool dude, girl from Belgium, Veronique.
And you just met these people?
I met them in the Wadi Rum desert, in a desert in Jordan where they filmed The Martian. They filmed Lawrence of Arabia. It was very much.
Wow.
This place was nuts. It was nuts. So, then you go to Petra, which Petra is one of the 7 wonders of the world, and it dates back. It's so. So Indiana Jones in Last Crusade, when he's riding on the horse through the canyons. And there's this building that's built into the mountain. That's from the movie, and it's.
I've seen your pictures. I'm like, wow.
You can't even. The pictures and nothing does it justice. It's insane. So, we had met and we all ended up in Petra at the same time, and then we were going to take a bus to the Dead Sea. Okay, and I didn't know how buses worked in some different places. Right? I mean, usually you have a schedule at 10:15, at 10:30, at 10:45.
The bus gets there when it gets there.
Dude, the bus was there, but the bus left when the bus was full. So you might have been there to catch a 10 o'clock bus.
Oh, wow.
But if there's 15 seats on a bus and there's only 10 sold, you may sit there for 3 hours like we did.
Oh,
we sat there, the 3 of us, and then they had met a guy from Morocco at their hostel. And so the 4 of us, Brendan and I were going to go do our thing, and Hisham and Veronique were going to go separately up to Oman, and they were going to continue their journey up through there. And we ended up, the 4 of us, we got in this bus, we ended up on the Dead Sea. We had 2 just phenomenal days but that's how it worked. It was completely and utterly. If my gut told me to go somewhere, I went somewhere. If my gut told me I need to get the out, I left. And that's why I ended up in Thailand for 7 weeks, 6 weeks. I ended up in Egypt.
So how'd you go from Thailand to Cambodia?
Okay, so Thailand.
What was the thing? What was your gut telling you to go to Cambodia?
Okay, so
because I'm assuming these are all in order.
No.
Okay.
Okay. So yeah. So Thailand, Cambodia, Egypt, Jordan, Israel, Cyprus, Morocco. Yes.
Okay.
So Thailand. Before I left, I had a few people that I know personally that had talked about Angkor Wat and Angkor Thom. They're the oldest. They're the oldest temples in the world.
Oh wow!
All right. I mean, and Tomb Raider, Lara Croft, those movies, Angelina Jolie movies have been filmed at some of them, and all this kind of stuff with the vines hanging down.
Oh, really?
And, yeah, very
like
kind of
that.
Yeah, completely
Wow.
like that. And so,
you think that's all made up in TV?
no, man, it's there. It's there.
real?
It's there. So I had spent a week in the forest in northern Thailand with some Buddhist monks, and so my visa was ending right when I was leaving, and the visa is basically what the amount of time that they'll allot you to stay in a country, and usually it's a month, sometimes it's 3 months, right? So mine was a month, and so the day I was leaving the monastery was when I had to leave to get out of Dodge, if you will.
They'll come find
they're
you.
gonna come find me, yeah, exactly, and tax the heck out of me. So I took a flight after that from Udon Thani, which is in the northern western part of Thailand, and it was about an hour flight to Siem Reap, which is the capital of Cambodia.
Okay.
And so it was kind of we call it a visa. They would call it a visa run, where you just got to leave the country, because you can leave, and in 2 or 3 days you can come back.
Oh, okay.
It's a little game you got to play. And some places are a little bit more on it. Other ones are pretty lax about it, right? So Cambodia would serve 2 purposes. It was to go, get the visa taken care of, but then also to see the oldest temples in the world. And let me tell you, one thing I've always kind of preached to myself, and I've always been a huge fan of, is it's kind of the paying it forward. It's the treating others as you want to be treated, man. Is because you know what? Listen, we all go through stuff. I don't care who you are. I don't care where you come from. I don't care if you're big, tall, short, skinny. Whatever. It does not matter. It does not matter. We all can do good things. And so I've always been somebody that I want to help you because you never know what's going to happen. I may need that help in the back, on the backside. So the reason I bring that up was that I got to Cambodia and it was a nightmare, man. I got into the airport really late, and the airport was about the size of Stockton. Okay, so it had a few more flights than Stockton does on a daily basis, but it wasn't big at all, man. And so I get there, and there was some visa issues that I ended up paying more money than I was tired. I was just completely blown away by the week before of being stuck, not saying anything, right? And we'll get back to that. But I met a guy at the hotel. Okay, the second day I was there, and I was just frustrated, man. I didn't know if I wanted to be there, and I was like, so his name's Here, like what you do with your ear here. Came up to my room, and he says, tells me about the places to go, and I said, I'm not feeling, I don't want to do the touristy thing, man. I just want to do my own thing. He says, look, I don't work tomorrow. I'll pick you up on my motorcycle, okay, in the morning,
oh, cool.
and I'll take you personally out to the temples, to Angkor Wat, to Angkor Thom. I'm like, man, you don't have to do that. Well, sure enough, at 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning, he's waiting for me, dude. He's waiting for me at the bottom. We get on his motorcycle. We go to Angkor Wat, and one of the times of the day you want to be there is at the sunrise, because the sunrise is from the west, and or from the east, excuse me. Jeez. Rise from the east. And it's a good shot right over the temple, so people get there early to do that. So we did that, and then he says, man, he goes, what are you doing later in the day? I said, I got nothing to do, man. I got nothing to do. I'm whatever you want to do, man. Yeah, I've got no schedule. So he invites me out to his house. He says, I want you to meet my family. Now, this is the second day after I met this guy, man.
Wow.
And we go out there, and he lives amongst these kind of rice paddies outside of Siem Reap. And I met his kids. I met his wife. I met his mother-in-law. His mother-in-law is a Buddhist nun. And I met her on a Buddhist holiday, and so like I've got these little bands here. So the red one was by a Buddhist monk in Angkor Wat. Was it's like a kind of a like a prayer little I don't know what you call it, little bracelet. And then here's mom or stepmom did the other one. So I got 2 blessings from Buddhist monks, a Buddhist nun on a Buddhist holiday, but the point that I was getting at with that is that everywhere I went, somebody that was providing a service, okay, it's like in this case he worked at the hotel, would take me in, man, would take me in, would feed me, would offer for me to stay there.
At their house?
Yes,
Wow.
yes, yeah. Like it just, but the thing is when you kind of peel back that onion of what we live in, and you start to go experience
other people's
people
culture.
and places and things and all this stuff, all of a sudden you're like, you know what? The world's full of some really awesome people, man. Really cool.
I agree.
Really cool.
I always have this saying, like, you never know when somebody's going to change your life, but more importantly, you never know when you're going to change theirs. And so
I couldn't have said that better myself. So every day, if you think about it, every day we have opportunities to make a difference in somebody's life.
Absolutely.
I mean, my mom growing up was a big believer in always treating people the way you want to be treated. This is a golden rule, right? It's very simple, and it's in the thought, but it's not easy for us because
it's
we
not
allow
easy to practice sometimes.
No, man, no. I wake up.
You run into somebody on the street, and you're just like, I just want to choke.
They look like they're just real. Like, oh, you need a little But I'm always somebody that, if I believe in everybody. Everybody's got awesome stuff, man. Everybody does. I don't care where you come from. I don't care how many dollars you have in your bank account. Everybody can do amazing things. And so for me, I look at how I ended up doing all these different things, and none of it was planned, man. None of it was planned. Like,
so speaking of not being planned,
yeah.
You said on when we were talking, you were silent for a week at a Buddhist temple. What? How can you not talk? You're just because you're very animated.
Yeah, dude. Listen, you want to talk about crazy? So I didn't know really anything about silent monasteries till I got to Thailand. Okay, and I'd met a guy. Stephen from Colorado on a flight from southern Thailand to Chiang Mai, to Chiang Mai, northern Thailand. And he was talking about going to this silent monastery, right? And he told me about it. Oh, it sounded pretty cool. Then I met an older guy from Austria, and he had spent a month and a half in like a mountain in Burma, a part of this, like it's in silence with these Buddhist monks. I'm like, who the hell does that? Who does this, man? So then I met a guy.
I'm Italian. Like, I got
dude, I got to talk, man. So then
manja.
Exactly. And so, and then I met a girl from Missouri. I met her the day that she left the silent monastery. And so it was really interesting because I'm a big numbers guy. So I'm thinking the power of 3. When things happen in threes, to me, usually there's okay, I got to act. I got to do something, man.
Do something.
Yes. And so I checked into it. And what was really crazy was that they do it for 8 or 9 days each month. And it started on my birthday. So my birthday was June 2nd.
Like, okay, that's another sign.
So listen, I got all kinds of signs, but I'll keep it brief.
Short,
otherwise, we'll be here all day.
We'll be here for all hours.
We'll be here all day. But so I arrive at the monastery, and you basically pack your cell phone, your tablet, whatever electronic devices you have, your passport, all that stuff, and they put it like under lock and key. So that's gone. So you have no radio, you have no Facebook, you have no.
You just have your thoughts.
Yeah, and you have a lot of thoughts, and so you basically we meditated for. Jeez Louise, man, 10 and a half hours, 11 hours a day, starting at 5 in the morning.
No talking the whole time? Or
No. It was no communication. I mean, you couldn't even like nonverbal, basically. It was just you
can I get some water?
yeah, that kind of worked. That part worked, but you couldn't. So here's a good example. 1 meal a day at 7 in the morning, all right? You had an hour and a half to eat, and the food was good. The food was really good. And when I first started this week, I would load this. It was basically that entire plate was a mound of food, man, because I'm like, I have to eat for 22 and a half other hours at this point, right?
Right.
But by day 3 or 4, you realize you didn't need the food. You didn't need that much, right? Because I would be uncomfortable, man. Then I have to go sit and meditate
with a full stomach.
Yeah, like on a food coma, man. You want, like, you start dozing off and stuff. And so, 1 meal a day, meditated for 10 and a half, 11 hours. Slept on a hardwood floor, on a straw mat that you would take to the beach that was maybe like a half-inch thick. Cold showers. Dude, it was so if anybody that knows me knows that there's two things I love in life, and I love food and I love to talk. And so that was stripped from me, right? If you will. But I had the most I've never been so clear-minded, so and I suggest this to everybody, not saying go to Thailand and do this. There are retreats like this that I found out that are all over the United States. Okay, and many of them don't cost a lot of money. But if you think about it, we're always connected, man. We're always connected to the phone, which I'm looking at right there,
right.
The monitors, which I'm seeing over there.
Always connected in some form.
Always connected. And so and there were crazy epiphany-style things happening every day to me, and I just so badly wanted to reach out to people and say, "Oh my gosh, you won't believe what I'm doing."
So could you write your epiphany? Did you have pencil and paper? Could you write your ideas down?
I did, man. I did. I picked up a journal because I felt like I was going to be doing a lot of thinking that I would need to maybe reflect back on.
Right.
And so, I did a lot. I like to talk, man. Writing is too slow for me.
Right.
So my penmanship,
voice to text doesn't understand what that.
Well, especially when you don't have the ability to do that. So I would be thinking things and I would be writing, and my penmanship would be really good at first, and the thoughts would be going so fast it just became like a line of scribbled stuff that now I have no clue what the hell I was saying. But yeah, no, it was that was something that was completely life changing, and the fact that it started on my birthday, I really. When I took this trip, this was not something. It wasn't a midlife crisis. It wasn't to sow oats. It wasn't anything like this.
I think it was more based on the conversations we had, and I've only known Matt for since January, February,
Yeah,
but I feel
10
like
months.
I've known him forever.
Yeah,
you know?
that's the same thing, man.
It's like you saw the I don't know if it's regret would be the right word for it, but in the industry that you work in,
Yeah.
you see all these people like, oh, I should have done this. I wish I would have said this to this person, or all those moments that were lost. You're like, I'm capturing my moment. If it's for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month, whatever it is, I'm gonna go do it. I'm gonna go do it right now.
You know what, Lance? You know
And that
what?
takes a lot of courage to do
Craziness.
that.
I don't. Yeah, it starts with a
It's
C,
not
right?
Craziness. It's courage. Like, okay, I'm gonna do this.
Yeah.
And I commend you for that. And that's why.
No, thank you, man. No, I appreciate that because
courage.
Well, I see. So, and I want to use this as an example to people out there that, you know, whether it's your grandparents, whether it's your parents, whether it's if you work in an assisted living community or you work in a skilled nursing or a hospital or someplace where you're maybe taking care of people that are at that point in their life. Because think about it, you and I, even at our age, we look back at things that I did or that I should have done and I didn't do, or I did, and man, if I could go back and relive that day, I would do that, right? So I was already in that process of doing it, and I kept thinking, what I get paid to go to work, and I get paid to make relationships with people that keep telling me the same thing, dude. There's a book, and I recommend this book to everybody out there. There's a book called The 5 Regrets of the Dying, all right? It was written by an Australian hospice nurse, and if you guys don't know what hospice is about, hospice is a service that thankfully is provided to people that are in the final stages of their life, usually sickness, cancers, things like this.
Very, very helpful.
Man, and so they come in and they'll help kind of keep the person at ease, whether it's medications, taking care of, keeping them comfortable.
Do so much.
Man, that job I couldn't do it. Yeah,
hospice,
absolutely, man, absolutely. And so this nurse in Australia spent 30 plus years working with people in that part of their life. So she wrote this book, which basically it's like a blueprint for, while you still have time to do it, change this. So no matter what their social status was, no matter their background as far as where they came from or anything, when talking, let's say that I'm your hospice nurse and I'm just getting to know you, Lance. I'm saying, you know, Lance, what are some things that you, not that you regret, but what are some things that if you had even just a little sliver of time, what would you go back and do? And almost every single person, man, every single person came up with 5 different things. Almost everybody.
They were probably universal.
Pretty much, because they were all things that economically, socially did not matter. It crossed every line. I'm not going to tell you what these 5 are. Because
you got to go buy the book.
Exactly, because that's what I used to do. Oh yeah, well, it's this, and this, and then nobody reads the book. But it's for those of you that don't like reading, it's a super easy read. Maybe 200, 250 pages. But
Probably get it on Audible at this point.
Oh, absolutely.
I listen tons of books.
You know what? I should have brought a copy for you, man. I got a copy at home, but maybe next time. But it's one of those things that I'll just tell you. One of the things that everybody talked about was that they wish they would have traveled more. They wish that they would have given themselves that opportunity to go see somewhere new, to walk down a street and see billboards that you have no bleeping clue what it says. And I don't even know what it advertises at this point, okay? Right. Or to wake up and go have a breakfast or eat something, some kind of food that you have no clue what's in it, right? Mm-hmm. Or like smells that I what the heck am I smelling? I don't even know what I'm smelling at this point. You know, that to me became very addictive. It becomes addicting, like going and traveling.
Would you look
and
at
doing
billboards and kind of get an image in your mind what they were selling, and then ask somebody what that they were selling?
Absolutely.
Like,
sometimes.
Curious to see if you can pick up on the body language clues or the images.
Yeah. No matter where you go, there's always billboards for phones. So if you saw somebody laughing with a phone, oh, okay, you must be the internet provider. But yeah, so it was that was cool, man. That was to me just it's kind of an addiction. You wake knowing that you're popping on a plane and tomorrow you're going to be in a completely different continent, or you're going to. And if you looked at the list of where I went,
how did you go from Cambodia to Egypt? Like those are like 2 totally
this whole list,
none of
it makes sense, man. None of it makes sense. So when I was in Thailand, Thailand is tropical. The fruit, everything is insanely fresh. The beaches are gorgeous. The water's like 80, 82 degrees. It's crystal clear. And so you get that beachy vibe that we love when we go to the Caribbean or we go to Hawaii or places like that. But at this point in time, so it was like mid-June, monsoon season was kicking in. So the rains were coming. So it was big. It was
like, I need to get out of here.
It was wet everywhere, man. And so I wanted to go down because, you're close enough to the area of Indonesia and Bali and some of these places. But there was a volcano that was going on at that point. And even though it wouldn't have been where I was necessarily going to be, I thought, okay, people that are going to see this on Facebook and think I'm nuts or whatever, right? So then I was going to go to Sri Lanka, which is in the Bay of Bengal. It's west of Thailand. It's east of India. And I'd met a couple from Canada, from Montreal, that had just raved about Sri Lanka and how it was amazing. So that was going to kind of be where I wanted to go. Same problem. It was raining all the time there. So I kid you not, I got my phone and I put up a world map and I looked because I knew I needed to leave, but I didn't know where I was going to go. So I looked on the map and I look at where Egypt is, Cairo. And I'm like, okay, you can get here, you can get here, you can get here, you can get here. So it kind of became like a base camp, if you will. Okay. That was my plan, right? So then, of course, I go on and I start searching for flights. And I found a flight the next week it was nonstop from Bangkok to Cairo for like $220 US. So let me tell you, like, one thing about it, we get screwed domestically, man, flying. I don't think I could get to Seattle from Sacramento for the amount that I paid to get from Bangkok to Cairo. Okay, and this was all over the place, man. I mean, most flights I found were not exuberantly expensive considering where you were going. So I got to Egypt, and I'd always wanted to go there, and I did the pyramids. I kind of went down the Nile. Didn't travel down the Nile on the water, but I took an overnight train to get down to Luxor and Aswan and some of these places in southern Egypt, which it's interesting. Little known fact for those of us that haven't spent much time in that area of the world. The Nile River is the only one that flows from south to north.
Oh, wow.
Okay, everything else flows from north to south. Okay, So in Egypt, Upper Egypt is in the southern part near Sudan. The southern part of Egypt is up near Cairo and Alexandria, up in the Mediterranean part. But it's all because of the way that the Nile flows. Okay? Kind of weird. Yeah. So, but I had some crazy things happen in Egypt. I was in this white desert that used to be millions of years ago, used to be an ocean. And I found seashells in this ocean, on this desert floor, right? But I met a girl from San Jose, California. I'm at this cold spring in the middle of the desert, and these two girls came.
Taking a sip of water?
I was dunking. I was in there like fully immersed in my bathing suit and stuff, and it felt amazing. And I get out, and these two girls are coming up, and we start talking, and I hear an American accent, and hey, you sound local, and I'm from San Jose. What? I'm from Lodi. So, I mean, what are the chances of that?
Right?
You know what I mean?
How cool.
Very cool. So, and then a guy my driver told me about this little beach city in Egypt called Dahab. Okay.
Is that where you ate that ice cream? I don't know.
Oh man. Well, okay. The first time I had the really good ice cream was in Cairo. Okay. That was with my buddy. That was with Hisham. Yeah. He was the one that told me about it, man.
Okay.
So I ended up over there, and I ended up in Dahab for like 5 weeks. I dove probably 25 times, some of the most beautiful dive sites in the world.
So did you know how to dive before you got there?
So before I left California, I never spent any time underwater unless I was swimming on my own, right. My own volition. But when I got to Thailand, I saw that there were a lot of great spots to go scuba diving. And I looked, and I'm like, you know what? Screw it. I'll do it. So that's what I did, and it completely opened up a whole new world to me. I mean, spending any time under the water,
it's
man,
so peaceful.
Let me tell you,
you and your own heartbeat in the air you breathe.
Yeah, and you have all these different ecosystem, plants and animals and fish and invertebra and octopus and squid and crabs and whatever. And yeah, I mean, I ended up swimming next to a sea turtle, like from me to you. This guy, I saw him, I cruised over to a rock. He looked at me like, dude, I don't want anything to do with you. He decided to head the other way.
I was scuba diving in Hawaii, and you see the movies where, the kid, grabbing the turtle.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Were you a turtle grabber?
Yeah. I
did?
come to find out you're not supposed to.
I know you're not supposed to do that. But
I was like, I'm on a free ride.
no, man. So what was really interesting to me was that none of my trip was really, there was no premeditation on where I was going other than just getting to Thailand. So when you look at this list, if you will, Egypt, I'm in Egypt and I'm over on the Red Sea, but I climbed Mount Sinai where Moses received the Ten Commandments. Went to
That's the only thing I know, by the way.
St. Catherine's Monastery, which is at the base of that, which is like a 2nd century monastery. I visited some of the oldest. Egypt itself has got roughly 85% of the world's natural artifacts in one place.
Wow.
So like the Egyptian Museum in Cairo, literally probably 95+% of anything that's been found in any of the temples, ruins, pyramids, and that stuff is there. I mean, King Tut, Cleopatra, Nefertiti, Ramses. I mean, you name it. There's and the architecture. So let me tell you, to stand at the foot of a pyramid and to look up at something that's maybe 400 to 450 feet up, right? And you're looking at the geometric, just you can understand.
Perfect.
These blocks at the bottom are like 15 to 20 tons, man.
How tall are they?
Well, some of them were as tall as I was. Some of them were about 5.5, 6 feet. But it just, geometrically speaking, it was perfect. It was perfect. And that was something that I saw everywhere I went, was there were so many things that our ancestors did that I think would be tough to replicate nowadays.
Absolutely.
Even, with the computer and all that stuff.
So how'd you go from Egypt to
Egypt
Jordan?
to Jordan? Okay, so
what was the thought behind it?
So
How'd
Jordan,
you peel that onion?
No, well, that was an easy one to do because when I got to Egypt, in that part of the world, Jordan has Petra. And Petra is one of the 7 wonders of the world.
Okay.
And so the close proximity on a map to that, I had a handful of people from here or even on my travel said, "Oh my gosh, you got to go." So
you're like, I'm in.
So I took a taxi from Dahab to Taba.
And how long was that taxi ride?
Dude, it was like 2.5 hours. But it cost me $30.
Oh my god.
Okay, it cost me $30. Dude, and it was one of the most like
it cost me $7.80. No, it cost me $15
for
to
an
go
Uber?
from Ben Holt and I-5 to downtown Stockton.
Yeah. I got to he dropped me off at the Israeli border. At the border of Egypt and Israel.
Oh wow!
And it was nice. It was through the mountains, and we hugged the Red Sea right till we got to Israel. And on the other side, you can see Saudi Arabia. It's a very narrow kind of area.
That's cool that you got to sit back and enjoy that and let somebody else drive.
Yeah. It was cool. Yeah, it was cool. And the mannerisms on the roads and stuff. So, anyways, we get to Israel. I walk across the border. Then I take a taxi from Eilat to Aqaba, which is like 20 minutes away. It's a little sliver. I mean, it would literally, that part of Israel would be like from going, like, let's say from South Stockton to like Galt. It's 20 minutes, 25 minutes, and you're over there. So then I took a taxi from Aqaba in Jordan to the Wadi Rum Desert. So there was a desert there. That was the place that they filmed The Martian and Lawrence of Arabia. That was where I met Brendan and Veronique, and I met another girl, Casey, from Sydney. That really cool, man, really cool. So ended up going for Petra, but I mean, here's a good example. You hitchhike most places to get around. Yeah, hitchhiking is it's not like it is here where you're really taking your life in your own hands. Right. You know what I mean? A lot of people hitchhike. So.
And they pick you up for free. I
mean, you pay, but it sometimes it can be bartered.
Okay.
We ended up in a town in between Petra and the Dead Sea called Karak, and there was an old, like 7th or 8th century castle there. Really cool, man.
Wow.
Yeah, and so we were about 45 minutes from the Dead Sea, and my buddy Brendan was just very good at haggling and bartering and this stuff, right? So we get down to where the buses are, and these buses are like, they're
like buses here, or they're smaller?
They're like a really rundown limo bus. A lot of those, the limo buses that maybe fit like 15 people, 20 people, right? But it's not like that. It's more of like a stretched Mazda minivan or something, right? Like an old school Astro van with an extra set of like seats, right? A little bucket row. So
the guy in the shop welded it together.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. He just finished it and just pulled it up.
If I put 2 more seats in here, I can make an extra $30 a day.
Absolutely, man. Yes. So So while he's and you can understand, he's pitting bus driver against bus driver, and then he's getting taxi guys involved because we're trying to figure out the cheapest price we can get from point A to point B. So. And he fully has these guys like arguing over prices, and I'm sitting there, and I'm just
you're just in awe. You're like, how's this working?
It's like that old, grab some popcorn and just sit back and watch, and it was hilarious, man, because we were just trying to get to the Dead Sea.
Tempers flaring. I can
Some of them I was like, man, it's gonna
They're gonna throw.
Yeah, I'm gonna scoot back a little bit over to this side of that wall, and but that's how you would do it. You sometimes we would hitchhike, but you could always find somebody to get you to a place. But when we were in the Dead Sea, we met a guy that was an Uber driver. Okay, he dropped off 2 Slovenian girls at this place that we went. This like kind of river thing that I haven't posted on yet, but the videos are amazing. I'll show you.
You're gonna have to do it,
dude. It's so this guy Ahmed picks us up in his Acura, whatever he had, and he drove us from the Dead Sea to Amman. He took us all over the place. He ended up taking Brendan to the airport the next day, and then he became my personal driver for the next 2 days. He quit whatever he was doing, and he drove me around. Like, he drove me up to this place called Jerash, which is up near Syria, and it's like a 2nd century city that was built by the Greeks to honor the Greek gods and goddesses. Okay, so
you got to see all the off the path
stuff that like you wouldn't even think, man. And so the cool thing was we're getting ready to leave Amman, and he looks at me like, so he's driving. They drive on the same side of the road as we do, right? So he's driving, and he looks over at me, and I swear to you, as serious as he could, he says, "You want to drive?" And I go, "Dude, I'm not driving your car. What are you talking about, man?" And so he says, "You know how to drive, right?" I go, yeah, of course I know how to drive. So he pulls over, and he says, "Here, you're driving." So I drove us to Jerash, which was about 2 hours north of Amman. I drove us over to this castle that was up on this ancient hill amidst like these olive trees, these orchards and stuff. And then he says to me, "I want you to meet my family." This is the 2nd day that I know this guy. Okay, so remember the guy I met in Cambodia, the 2nd day. Here's another guy, 2nd day. We go into Amman, we go to his house, and I meet his kids and all this stuff. And you got to understand, so in Muslim countries, or Muslims, they pray 5 times a day. Okay, starting at like 4:30 in the morning.
Wow.
And then the last call to prayer is usually at about like 8:30, 9 o'clock at night. So we're at his house, and he goes, "Geez," he says, I missed my last, I didn't get to the mosque today. I missed my last prayer. Do you want to go with me? And you got to understand, I'm in a T-shirt like this. I could not find a pair of board shorts to save my life. So the only shorts I ever found anywhere, and anybody that's been to these places can attest to this, like, you cannot find a pair of swimming shorts that does not replicate like John McEnroe, like tennis shorts from the 80s, where it's like mid-thigh, you've got that nice farmer's tan going right there. So I'm like, dude, I look like a hot mess, man. I'm in flip-flops. I'm not Muslim. And he says, "It doesn't matter." He says, "It doesn't matter." He says, "Just come with me." So I'm like, okay, man, okay. So we go to this mosque.
Like, I'm trusting you, brother.
You're right, I'm trusting you, absolutely. So we go to this mosque, and we're in line, and we're praying, we're doing this stuff, and I'm following lead. Okay. Prayer finishes. He introduces me to a couple people, including the imam, the leader of the mosque. And so the next 2 hours, I sat with Ahmed and 2 other guys that spoke English, and then 4 other guys that didn't speak English, that only spoke Arabic. And we hung out in that mosque for about 2 hours, man. And we talked religion, we talked politics, we talked food, we talked travel. We literally talked about everything that you can think of. And it was so amazing because these are just human beings, man.
They're just people.
Human beings. Like we so many times we have this predicated notion on what somebody is because of what box they fit in, what religion, what they do for their job. I mean, think about it. How many times do we judge somebody based on, oh, hey, what's one of the first questions I ask? Hey, Lance, what do you do for a living?
Yeah, right.
Oh, hey, man, I build jewelry, man, down at nothing against jewelry makers, but I build jewelry out. Oh, cool. Oh, cool. Okay, you know what I mean? Or right. I've got a little lemonade stand. Well, you want to know what? If you make the best damn lemonade, then keep doing it, man. It's like you would be surprised at when you step out of things and you look at life for what it is and you meet people that are just squeezing oranges for orange juice, bro. I had the most amazing orange juice in Morocco by this like 14-year-old kid. He knew he had amazing produce, dude. Like, he knew what he was doing. Oh, yes. And so, you know, we come down from this big hike and I see this guy and it was basically like for $1. It was about a 20-ounce thing of the freshest squeezed, like ripe oranges you can imagine. Right. Absolutely, yeah, yeah. And so, yeah, that stuff happens all the time.
In all your travels, what would you share with the audience? What is the one thing you could leave them with today, as we kind of wrap this up?
Oh man,
or let's say 3 things. It's 3 things.
One thing.
1, 2, or 3, whatever.
Don't let people. Okay, so here's the thing. Don't let people say you can't do it. You can do it. You can do whatever the hell you want to do.
I agree.
Now, listen, going to Mars at this point, maybe not that feasible. But you want to know what? I learned more about myself in 6 months with a backpack on my back, going to places that I never in a million years planned to go, than I did in the 41 years prior. And this is the God's honest truth, man. So I tell people, look, whether you've always wanted to go to Mount Rushmore, or you've always wanted to go to Niagara Falls, or you've always wanted to go and see where your ancestors came from and such, go do it. Because you want to know what? We think that we're guaranteed tomorrow, but we're not guaranteed anything, man. Absolutely. And so, and on top of that, here's the biggest part is be a nice freaking human being, bro.
Be kind to people.
Be kind to people. Don't like everybody has crap. Everybody has their own stuff. This guy does. I do. You do. But the point is that be appreciative for what you have, man, because it doesn't take that far. You and I can walk 3 blocks either direction, and we will see people that we wouldn't trade their spots with them for anything.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? So, no, just
like the lady we met this morning standing out there.
Yeah.
Where do you live around here? She's I live right here.
Exactly, man. Exactly. Yeah. I was like, yeah. Man. No. So you guys that have been listening to this that know Lance, you know that this guy is one of the most positive people you're going to meet. When I met this guy, this didn't stop. It was like a complete bro fest. It was disgusting. It was disgusting, by the way. But Lance is doing great things, and I can't thank you enough, man, for having me come on.
Thank you for sharing. You know,
if you're ever stuck where you don't have somebody, I'll come on and I'll talk about whatever, man. Food, travel, you know it. I love it.
We'll have to have you back on and talk about some of that amazing food you had.
We didn't cover any of this because I just didn't shut up.
Running out of time. So, everybody, tonight I'm having a mixer. It's free. It's at Central. It's over there in the Krispy Kreme shopping center. If you can make it, I would love to have you. Bring a guest. You know, the more the merrier. Because if you don't bring people, it's just going to be me and the bartender, and it's going to be boring. So, have a great day. Treat people well. And remember, yes, you can with Lance McCann.
Good to see you, Lance. Take it easy.